Episode of the Sarah Quinn reality show where I focus on the ins and outs of what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. If it's important to you, it's important to me. Today I have with me an incredible guest, Scott. Scott, say hello to everybody.
Hey.
Scott is in the financial industry, but he does something a little different. He focuses on helping millennials get clear on how much money they have, whether they're overspending, underspending, so that they can start to build a strong financial foundation. I know when I was younger, I knew nothing about money. I was 16 years old, and my mom would give me $5 every morning for lunch in high school. I used to tuck it under my mattress, I kid you not, and I would make lunch before she got up in the morning. And one day, when my mom was cleaning, she lifted the mattress, and I came home from school that night, and my mom sat me down and said, "We need to have a very important conversation about selling drugs. You're in so much trouble." And I was like, what? I'm just trying to save money for a new car. But we all have stories about money, whether they're positive, negative, crazy, wild. So you have a unique background. You come from the Mormon community.
Yeah.
And what is it like, in coming from that community? You are from Utah.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of money in that community. We've all heard, about the billion-dollar businesses that are coming out of Utah. Coming from that community and learning about money, and then stepping into entrepreneurship in a very different community, what's that been like for you?
It's definitely been a big change for even me of stepping out of I'm going to call it my circle, my comfort zone, and being around, people that are winning.
Yeah.
That, going from...
You have a name for those people.
I do?
You called us something the other day.
Oh, high-minded thinkers.
High-minded thinkers.
Yeah. Because it's, even for me, in that Mormon culture, they don't talk about finances.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a lot in a lot of America and everywhere else where you're expected to go to school, you graduate high school, you're expected to go to college, and then go get a job. Yeah. And there's no in-between. There's no teaching you how money works. There's no teaching how to budget. There's no, financing, investing, or anything of that sort.
So do you feel like the world has essentially set you up to fail financially?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's hard to take it into your own hands when you don't know. But you have this business now.
Yeah.
You've been working on building and planning, from my understanding, and getting into a space where you're helping millennials just get really clear. What would you say is the best experience that you can kind of bring to the table? I've been there, done that. You've got a bit of a diverse background with making wealth now. You have a job. What other avenues are you using to create wealth?
A lot of us now, 2022, a lot of people are into the side hustle things, and so I do have my own side hustles, where I do lawn care, the financial education, and probably many other things along the way, but it was more learning.
Yeah, trial and error.
Trial and error of not really knowing what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Even if I fail, I took it as a learning opportunity to, if it comes again, I'm going to be better at it. I might fail again, but I'm going to fail again better at it.
I'm going to fail forward.
Yes.
Right? And so I love that terminology. I'm just going to keep failing forward, because eventually you'll get it right, or you'll get something else right? It's like, let's get all of the ducks out of the row until we find the one that we really want, or the one that we're really good at. So you've been through this space of kind of going from the Mormon community into, I'm not sure even what you would call it, this entrepreneurial community, I guess. You've kind of got one foot in one world and one foot in the other. Yeah. Is it a challenge to balance your beliefs and what has been kind of the norm for you when you've stepped into this space of working with other people who maybe don't understand your religion and your background?
Yeah, it is different because, like, even like stepping out of it, it was a huge step for me getting out of my comfort zone, being
Yeah.
around people that really, like you, for example, and a bunch of the other people, we only met online on Facebook.
Yes.
And so coming out and meeting you in person, it's completely different of instead of seeing someone on a Zoom screen every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then also being in that same foot with the Mormon community, like finances, it's a very uncomfortable topic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to look at their finances. Either it's embarrassment, shame, or not even knowing where they are.
Okay. So, are you feeling more free that you're taking control of your financial future and understanding that, or do you feel like you're kind of going against what's always been normal to you?
A little bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Because
It's hard, right?
it is hard, like especially learning finance. Like it's sometimes some of the subjects, topics are like you're speaking Chinese or foreign language. I only know English, so barely that. But to jump into this new environment of like even learning of going and watching videos on YouTube of people that are winning talk about finance and how the first thing they learned about was money. They might have gotten rich by other means, but they learned money, the principles of finance first before they went to other things.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? Different cultural backgrounds, we have different ways of learning, we have different things. I know, obviously different story, but I wasn't taught very much about money. Mm-hmm. I definitely grew up in what I would say is a privileged community. Everybody had really big houses and nice cars, and it was kind of like that, but I didn't. My family didn't. The fact that my mom could give $5 for lunch every day was a challenge. She was a single mom raising, 4 kids and working 2 jobs and doing it completely on her own. And we went without a lot of the time. So, I really understand that. And the only thing I knew about money was that we didn't have any. Right? That was all I knew. And I knew that I wanted it. And so, like you, I got a job relatively young and started working and started building that. But millennials, we're going to call millennials, but it's not just millennials. I know a lot of, other people who do this too. You make the money and then you spend it, yes. Right? How would you say someone could start the process of saving if they've got a little bit of money?
I think the biggest one is to find out how much you actually have.
Yeah.
Like to go through your monthly, even yearly expenses of, okay, you make X amount this month, you spend X amount this month. Like, you go through the bills, you go through the rent, utilities, how many times you go out to eat, how many times maybe Starbucks or something like that.
Starbucks.
Yeah. And then you go through the whole thing, everything from even, I'm going to say everything, your car, your phone.
Yeah.
You can go on and on, but to know where it's coming from and where it's going. And, you never know. You might find some money that you didn't know you had.
Yeah. Or it paints a really clear picture of this is the reality. For some people, it's I'm not making enough, right, to cover my basic necessities. And so maybe it's a different job, right? Or hopefully not more hours, but more hours, right? Or just adjusting the way that they live. So would you say like 10% is a really good place to start putting money aside?
Yeah, 10%, like anything that you can start.
Or anything, just anything, right?
Well, even the smallest, like the sooner you start, that little bit can go a long way in a long run.
Yeah, a good friend of mine always used to say every penny is a penny towards your million, right? Yes. Or your first million. And so, collect those pennies and hold them dearly or reinvest them because, everything does add up. So how do you feel it's going to be in this kind of new business space reaching out to millennials? Because they don't want to talk about money, right? Most of us don't. It's an uncomfortable conversation. Do you feel like because you're younger yourself, it'll be a lot easier to relate? Or do you feel like people are going to be like, I don't really want to talk about that?
Sometimes it takes some work because especially I'm me. Some people see me as their friend, cousin, relative, whatever. But it takes time of being able to look at yourself and say, is this it?
Right. Yeah.
Because I was in that one point where I go to work every day, hating life, doing the same crap every day, and I needed more than just going to work for 100 years, and then retire for maybe 5.
You're gonna live to 105 there, Scott.
Yeah.
I get you. No, I get you. Right. You basically work until you die. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a life for anyone. And so creating that stability. And I think that you can share that, right, and help people reach out to you. I think sometimes the uncomfortable money conversations come from people not wanting to be vulnerable about their own situation, and that's something really admirable that you can share that. Do you see for yourself really having this space of getting into that vulnerability with people and sharing those stories so that they'll be more comfortable to open up? You know, in the online world that we're in now, there's the overshare, right? And like it's a little too much information, and then there's people who are deathly afraid to say anything online because it's such a competitive place, right? Where everyone's got an opinion. Have you opened up to sharing vulnerably, or are you working into that space still?
I've had like here and there's, but it's more of a work in progress because for me too, I'm more of I'll post everything on Facebook or social media, and then there's times where I want to be here by myself
In your space.
in my space
Right.
because we all struggle,
Yep.
and sometimes we want to use social media as our outlet for releasing that.
Yeah.
Also to put myself out there of, yeah, I know what it's like to be, well, I was raised by a single parent.
Yep.
And when money was tight, it was, luckily, for the most part, my mom tried to shield me from that, but I knew. And the more older I got, the more sacrifice I saw that she put out for me of going and having to work the long hours, because my mom worked at the post office for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And when you start working there, it's a tough industry on its own, but going and working 18 hours a day, slaving away, and not being able to make ends meet, and also not spending time with me.
It gives you a different perspective, though, doesn't it, when you're older and you realize how much things actually cost and how difficult it can be to maintain that, to realize, you know, what she really had to do, right? I would think that it would be a space of realization. I know with my mom, similar story, single mom raising us, and she was gone all the time. And when I was younger, it was like, why are you gone, right? But then I got older and I started having to pay for things.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I get it, right? Now I understand how expensive it can be to live in it, and it is only progressing with that. How do you feel that the younger generation will handle this inflation in market? Do you think they're prepared for it? Do you think that it's on their mind? Are they just freely spending, not a care in the world?
I feel like it is there. Like it is a constant. Like we're at what, 9% inflation this year, and gas is going through the roof. It is there. Like even I see it every single day, and it gets depressing for real. Like you go and you feel like you just breathed, and there goes $20.
Yep. So, do you think that they are changing their lifestyle, millennials, or do you think that it's kind of, I'm just going to spend it till it runs out and get on with my day?
It's probably about 50-50 where,
Yeah.
you know, some people are super conscious about how much they make, how much they spend, and other people, they just straight up don't care. I'm going to go buy the new shirt or the shoes or the car or whatever, and then they can't afford it.
Yeah. What would you say is the best place to start saving money? Piggy bank? Bank account? Out of sight, out of mind? Or I know for some people it's like once it's gone with the financial planner, it's out of my hands and I feel like I can't spend it, and so it's harder to grasp. What would you say is the best place to get started?
Start with like a financial planner, someone that knows finance, like
Someone who's more educated.
more educated, because that's the biggest thing right now is, you know, we don't know everything. You know, average Joe doesn't know, like your old grandpa, uncle, whoever,
You don't know what you don't know.
Doesn't know what you don't know, but to find somebody that does know these things, be able to set something up, a structure in place to build what you need, like say in the future, even a like emergency fund to say stuff hits the fan of your car breaks down or you can name it, and you got to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, and it's hard because we never know, right? But there is hope. Right? There is hope to have a good, strong financial future. So just get started. That's what I hear. Mm-hmm. Every little bit counts. You have multiple streams of income. Tell me a little bit about how it's like to juggle that. Because this is the new trend, right? I think it's 7? They say you should have 7 streams of income.
Yeah.
What's it like to be building in a space now, coming from where you were, the childhood that you had, what you were raised with, what your religion brought into it, what the world just neglected to teach you, all of those things. What's it like now to be building that? How does it feel?
I'm gonna say it's fun, and at the same time it's terrifying because you feel like, for me at least, it feels like I'm juggling everything, and I don't know how to juggle. But
you're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. And that's also the cool thing about it is we're not expected to be perfect at it the first time. So we're, you got to, first I like to keep it accounted for of where everything is coming from.
Yep.
Like, okay, this is coming from my job. Okay, I do this on the side. It brings in X amount of dollars. It doesn't have to bring in your $1 million right off the bat, but every little bit counts.
Yes. So we're going to take a break here and get over to commercial, and then we'll be back to learn a little bit more about saving and investing.
Yay.
Do you have a podcast?
And welcome back from break. Again, I have Scott here with me. While on break, Scott was telling me an incredible story about how he walks to make money. Scott, why don't you tell everyone the story that you shared with me? This is really incredible.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to make money. Like there's even walking apps that pay you. And I'm spacing on what they're actually called. But yeah, like one of the side things that I do is I cut lawns. And the last time I went and cut lawns, I recorded like 40,000 steps. And it's just, just everyday thing of your walk every day, so why not get paid for it?
So let me get this straight. You download an app on your phone. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you do your job, and this app pays you.
Yeah.
See? See how easy it is to make money, right? If you're needing some extra cash, we'll get you the link to that app after the episode. This is really powerful. So I have something similar that I actually did. For those of you who don't know how I started my little wealth empire, as I like to call it, my very little wealth empire, Bitcoin was a thing that may or may not be a cool thing in the future, way back when. Starting to feel old. But when I first heard about Bitcoin, I was at an event in Las Vegas. I was hosting a networking event. And this guy showed up, and he did the typical, like, look at my phone, you have to hear about this thing. And we all kind of thought, like, yeah, okay, buddy. Nobody did anything with it because it just didn't seem realistic, right? It's one of those like gimmicks that may or not make you money, and nobody wanted to invest in it at that time because you just didn't know, and it was really risky. But I was on tour for 2 years. After the event, I went back to the airport, and I started Googling how to get Bitcoin. And this thing comes up, and it tells me to fill out the survey. So I fill out the survey, so it gives me Bitcoin. Well, I think nothing of it because I don't even know what Bitcoin is. I mean, I couldn't explain Bitcoin to you today if my life depended on it. Although I do know that it crashed recently, so I've heard. But every day for 2 years while I was on tour, I would fill out these surveys because I had nothing else to do in the airport, and I just did it. Well, I forgot about it because, life goes on, and I never heard about Bitcoin again because I just didn't pay attention. Rewind a year and a half ago, I'm speaking on a virtual networking event during COVID, and somebody says to me, did you guys see how much Bitcoin went up today? And I went, I have some Bitcoin. So nonchalantly, like, no big deal. And the guy says his name was Darcy. Darcy says, well, how much? I said, I don't know, a ton of it. I said, what is it worth? Like 30 cents? He goes, Sarah, do you have access to it still? I said, yeah, I have this thing that they send me an email every day to fill out surveys. Of course, I'd stopped doing it. Anyways, lo and behold, I go in and check it. I realize that Bitcoin is worth a lot of money. And so this is how my whole, wealth empire started. But I found this other thing online, and they send me an email every day. And every day I scroll to the bottom of the email, and it says, click this button. And there's a little wheel that spins. And it sends me 0.00000000001 Bitcoin. I want to make sure I got that right for you all. Every day. So I do this for a year and a half. And it turns into 34 cents, which, isn't a whole lot of money. But it's free money, so I'm all excited about this. Who doesn't want free money? And so I go into my online investment account. I take 34 cents from my bank, and I move it over, and I invest it into penny stocks, which then turns into $8 after a long time, several months. Turns into $8. Then I take that and I move it over, and it turns into $46. Long story short, it turns into $809 or something. I cashed it out, and I used that to get the first designs of my clothing line that just launched this last year. And so the 0.00000 million zeros and one turned into this big thing. And it's really interesting because all these little things can equate to something bigger when we apply it. Now, would you say in your experience that a lot of people would take the time to do something like this?
If you're patient enough, I'd say yeah. Like, I love it. I get the same email every day, and
oh, that's amazing.
And I actually love it when I push the button and it spins around and I win, and I'm like, I celebrate every win. I'm like, yes!
But you win every time, right?
Yes, and it's great.
Yeah, but I think it goes to show that whether you're earning a large amount at a time or a small amount of time, that when you focus on the ability to create, it tends to just flow from there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say outside of that are some of the biggest challenges that millennials have right now? They're not educated, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Spending out of their means.
And it's a lot of it is they're doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Even though we are in this huge social world, sometimes we do feel alone at times. And so my biggest thing was, like, for me, I was the first entrepreneur ever in my family. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. And
the biggest thing that helped me out was finding mentor people. And sometimes they are actual real people. And other times, maybe you have to go YouTube how to or Google how to.
I love YouTube.
Yeah, I do too.
I YouTube everything.
And
it's interesting that you say that, because while we are in this very connected world, we almost know too much information. And I think that knowing too much information sometimes can detour people from getting out there, because a lot of times we feel like everybody knows more than us, right? Or everybody's doing better than us, or like, I can't do it like that person does. I scroll through Instagram and I hate shame myself all the time. I'm just like, my house doesn't look like that, or my kids aren't that clean, or my car isn't like this, and I definitely don't have time to wash my car every week. Even if I had the time, I don't think I'd make the time. But it can be really challenging to find people that you trust in a world that is so conversational online. I know one of the big stigmas with financial planners is they just take a percentage of it, so do it yourself anyways.
yeah, that's the sad truth about it. There are people out there that do that. And
But you have to get paid, right?
Well,
you have to get paid, so what's wrong with it? This is the part that boggles me, right? You want to get paid for doing what you do, but if I'm going to manage your money, I should get paid for that too, right? It's my time, it's my effort, my energy. I've got a family at home to feed, right?
And then we have to see the bigger picture as well of, this is what I want, and I got to learn how to get there. And when we find that person that knows the path, because we all need a guide. And growing up, usually it's our parents and sometimes teachers, et cetera, but
Or YouTube.
YouTube is it is out there. Like, even if there's anything you want to do, just go how to, or there's probably somebody out there on social media that's already doing it. hey, there's nothing wrong with reaching out saying, hey, I'm doing this. I would love some help.
Yeah. So you've built this plan. You're helping people. You're getting them really clear on what money's coming in, what money is going out. Is it easy to say to people, like, you're overspending? Like, wake up? Or do you find it's really hard to have to point out to people, here's all the things you're doing wrong financially? I think that would be an awkward conversation sometimes.
At first it is, because no one wants to be told that they're spending more than they're making.
Yeah.
And even though subconsciously a lot of us are, and we already know it, but it's always, I feel like, yeah, sometimes you have to mentally, physically wake up to, this is my reality.
Yeah. And that's hard,
Yeah,
right?
it is hard.
It's hard to face, you know. I remember days where I was like, I don't know where the money's coming from to feed my kids. I don't know how I'm going to put gas in the car. I remember actually driving with my kids and thinking, I am not going to get home. I put $3 in at the gas station, and I felt so embarrassed. But now I would look at it and think, I feel so lucky that I even had that $3, because I know that a lot of people are struggling so much more than that, where they might not even have a car, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that it's hard to change the landscape of how people look at money because we are so poorly educated in it?
I'm going to say no.
No, just have the conversation.
Have the conversation. It's a hard conversation to have, but the end result is better.
Yeah.
Because I kind of look at it as a staircase. We're walking up the stairs, and I don't know about you, but I've walked up a 24 floor building, and it's hard when you're up at floor 20 and you still have 4 to go. But you know,
It's one step at a time.
one step at a time. It's, you know, you're going slowly, and you're going to get there no matter what.
Eventually, yeah. I think that's a powerful message, right? Just get started, get focused, pay attention to it. I think a big part of the problem is, and maybe you agree with me, is that people want to shy away from it. They want to ignore it. They want to let it pile up. Not maybe consciously, but it becomes so heavy and such a big burden. And, you know, in the space that I'm in now, I teach my community to talk about money all the time. Like, even if you've got 9 cents in the bank, let's celebrate that, because we're going to find a way to grow it, right? But that's not the norm. And I'm very aware of that, and my audience really has struggled with it, right?
Yeah.
So you're changing the way people talk about money by just having the conversation, right? Opening them up to the possibility of that, allowing them to re-engage in it. I think that's really powerful. So we can connect with you online. You're on social media, Scott
Yep.
Atkinson, if anyone wants to connect.
Yep.
Scott, it has been a true pleasure having you on here today. I love your mission. I think it's powerful when men and women can step into conversations about money, when we can take control of that, especially at a younger age. So I love that you're talking to millennials. I got a 16-year-old son who has his first job, and I'm always like, please don't spend it all. Please don't spend it all. Please. But I'm trying to, like, give him the space and the freedom. So I salute you for having that conversation with people in, you know, this age range, because it is hard, right? Who wants to buy the new computer, the new thing, and all that. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Just pay attention to the numbers, right? That's all that matters. And the reality is it's not always going to be easy, but one step at a time, and you'll get there.